Hi, and welcome back. We're going to be continuing with Enoch, and we are now in chapter 23, so let's get to it. From thence I went to another place towards the west, unto the extremities of the earth, where I beheld a fire blazing and running along without cessation, which intermitted its course neither by day nor by night, but continued always the same. I inquired, saying, What is this which never ceases? Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, This blazing fire which thou beholdest running toward the west is that of all the luminaries of heaven. I went from thence to another place and saw a mountain of fire, flashing both by day and night. I proceeded towards it and perceived 7 splendid mountains, which were all different from each other. Their stones were brilliant and beautiful. All were brilliant and splendid to behold. The beautiful was their surface. 3 mountains were towards the east, and strengthened by being placed one upon another. And 3 were towards the south, strengthened in a similar manner. There were likewise deep valleys which did not approach each other. And the 7th mountain was in the midst of them. In length, all these resembled the seat of a throne. An odoriferous tree surrounded them. Among these there was a tree of an unceasing smell, nor of those which were in Eden was there one of all the fragrant trees which smelt like this. Its leaf, its flower, and its bark never withered, and its fruit was beautiful. Its fruit resembled the cluster of a palm. I exclaimed, Behold, this tree is goodly in aspect, pleasing in its leaf, and the sight of its fruit is delightful to the eye. Then Michael, one of the holy and glorious angels who were with me, and one who presided over them, answered and said, Enoch, why dost thou inquire requesting the odor of this tree? Why art thou inquisitive to know it? Then I, Enoch, replied to him and said, Concerning everything I am desirous of instruction, but particularly concerning this tree. He answered me, saying, That mountain which thou beholdest, the extent of whose head resembles the seat of the Lord, will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Lord of glory, the everlasting King, when he shall come and descend to sit, when he shall become and descend to visit the earth with goodness. And that tree of an agreeable smell, not one of the carnal odor, there shall be no power to touch until the period of the great judgment, when all shall be punished and consumed forever. This shall be bestowed on the righteous and humble. The fruit of this tree shall be given to the elect. For towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, towards the habitation of the everlasting King. Then shall they greatly rejoice and exalt the Holy One. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on the earth, as thy forefathers have lived. Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, trouble, and punishment afflict them. And I bless the Lord of glory, the everlasting King, because he has prepared this tree for the saints, formed it and declared it that he would give it to them. From thence I proceeded to the middle of the earth, and beheld a happy and fertile spot, which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. Then I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it water on the eastern side, which flowed toward the south. I saw also on the east another mountain as high as that, and between them there were deep, but not wide valleys. Water ran towards the mountains to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain. There was a valley, but not a wide one, below it, and in the midst of them were other deep and dry valleys toward the extremity of the three. All these valleys, which were deep but not wide, consisted of a strong rock with a tree which was planted in them. And I wondered at the rock and at the valleys, being extremely surprised. Then I said, what means this blessed land are all these lofty trees, and the accursed valley between them? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who were with me, replied, this valley is the accursed of the accursed forever. Here shall be collected all who utter with their mouths unbecoming language against God, and speak harsh things of his glory. Here shall they be collected. Here shall their territory. Here shall be their territory. In the latter days, an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the saints, while those who have received mercy shall forever all their days bless God, the everlasting King. And at the period the judgment shall they bless him for his mercy, and he has distributed it to them. Then I bless God, addressing myself to him and making mention, as was meet, of his greatness. From thence I proceeded towards the east to the middle of the mountain in the desert, the level surface only of which I perceived. It was full of trees of the seed alluded to, and water leaped down upon it. There appeared a cataract composed as of many cataracts, both toward the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, upon the other water and dew. Then I went to another place from the desert towards the east of the mountain, which I had approached. There I beheld choice trees, particularly those which produce the sweet-smelling drug, frankincense and myrrh, the trees unlike to each other, and over it, above them, was the elevation of the eastern mountain at no great distance. I likewise saw another place with valleys of water which never wasted, where I perceived a goodly tree, which in smell resembled, now forgive me for butchering this word, Zasakinon. So I'll repeat that phrase. Where I perceived a goodly tree, which in resembled, smelled of Zasakinon. And towards the sides of these valleys I perceived cinnamon of sweet odor. Over them I advanced toward the east. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees, from which water flowed like Neketro. Wow. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees, from which water flowed like Neketro. Its name was Syria and Calbonaba. And upon this mountain I beheld another mountain, upon which were trees of Alva. These trees were full like almond trees and strong, and they produced fruit. It was superior to all perfume. After these things, surveying the entrances of the north above the mountains, I perceived 7 mountains complete with pure nard, odoriferous trees, cinnamon, and papyrus. From thence I passed on above the summits of those mountains to some distance eastward, and went over the Erythraean Sea. And when I had advanced far beyond it, I passed along above the angel Zatiel, and arrived at the garden of righteousness. In this garden I beheld, among other trees, some which were numerous and large, and which flourished there. Their fragrance was agreeable and powerful, and their appearance both varied and elegant. The tree of knowledge also was there, of which if anyone eats, he becomes endowed with great wisdom. It was like a species of the terebinth tree, bearing fruit which resembled grapes, extremely fine, and its fragrance extended to a considerable distance. I exclaimed, "How beautiful is this tree, and how delightful is its appearance!" Then holy Raphael, the angel who was with me, answered and said, "This is the tree of knowledge, of which thy ancient father and thy aged mother ate, who were there before thee, and who obtained knowledge, their eyes being opened, and knowing themselves to be naked, were expelled from the garden. From thence I went on towards the extremities of the earth, where I saw large beasts different from each other, and birds various in their countenance and forms, as well as the notes of different sounds. To the east of these beasts I perceived the extremities of the earth, where heaven ceased. The gates of heaven stood open, and beheld the celestial stars come forth. I numbered them as they proceeded out of the gate, and wrote them all down as they came out one by one according to their number. I wrote down their names altogether, their times and their seasons, as the angel Uriel, who was with me, pointed them out to me. He showed them to me and wrote them down an account of them. He also wrote down for me their names, their regulations, and their operations. I'm actually going to stop there because it looks like we're getting to something that's a little different from the mountains, and I kind of want to keep everything together. So I thank you so much for joining me this week. I will see you next week, I promise, or I should say, Yah willing. But I will continue to read the book of Enoch, and hopefully I'll go through other apocryphal books like Jasher and Jubilees. Jubilees is a really good book, so I'm excited to get through Enoch so we can start another book. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week.